coming up. It's time to start making those New Year's resolutions. Unfortunately, we keep making these resolutions and we never follow through with it. It's always, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, or I'm going to get a gym membership. Now you might get that gym membership, but then you never go. Well, this year I'm going to make a resolution that I'm going to stick to. Personally, I've resolved to train for a full marathon. Today I'm going to give you a couple tips and suggestions on how you can go about training for a full marathon. So, running a full marathon requires a lot of things. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those things. You're going to need a rigorous training schedule. You're going to need a good amount of motivation from your friends, family, whatever. You're going to need the proper equipment. You're going to need balanced diet and nutrition. And above all, you're going to need discipline. And so we're going to talk about some of those things today. My experience in training for a full marathon, I had never done it before. But I ran track in high school. In college, I took a nutrition class. So I have a little bit of knowledge about diet and nutrition and health. And I'm in the Army. And as a soldier, we're required to maintain certain physical readiness. And that includes running and so on and so forth. I also did some research on the internet, and I found this really great blog called Mahalo. And it's basically like a library of how-to videos and articles and things like that. So first, we talk about the proper equipment. You want to make sure you have the proper running shoes. A lot of times, different shoes give you different benefits and different capabilities. Now, when you're running a marathon, you don't want to get basketball shoes. You don't want to just get normal tennis shoes or sneakers, kicks, or whatever. You want to get good running shoes. And most of the time, the shoes will tell you that it's a running shoe. A lot of times, there's shoes that give you different kinds of support. A good idea before you go to buy this pair of shoes is to get a pair of shoes that you've had for a really long time, some that have been worn. Pull out the sole, look at the shoe, see where it's mostly worn out. That'll give you a good indicator of the support that you need. Sometimes it's in the balls of your feet, sometimes it's in the arches, so on and so forth. Could be in the heels, whatever. So those are good suggestions on when you go to purchase your equipment, your running shoes, to get the support that you need for your foot. Now you also want to get the proper clothing. When you go to buy clothing for running these marathons or doing long distance running or training, moisture wicking. You want to look for clothes that have that term, moisture wicking. Basically, because when you're running for a long period of time, you build up sweat and moisture that could lead to blisters and chafing, and that's pretty painful. You don't want that. Anyway, you want to avoid cotton just for that reason. Cotton tends to soak up that moisture, and it'll hold it onto your body, and it'll cause those blisters and such. Now, the big deal for training for this marathon is you want to have a plan. You don't just want to just go out and just start running every day for some extended amount of time. You really want to have a schedule. You can go online and find a lot of these resources online to get an idea of what you're capable of. You don't want to do something that you're not physically able to do. Now, the first thing that I would suggest that you do is visit your doctor. Make sure your heart is healthy enough, make sure your knees are strong enough, so on and so forth. Just kind of get a good assessment of where you stand physically. And then after that, like I said, do your research online. Find a training schedule that's right for you. Find one that'll fit into your daily schedule. Sometimes it'll tell you to run up hills and run up bleachers or what have you. Some tell you to run around the track for so many amount of laps for your daily exercise. Some tell you to just go out and hit the pavement and run for so many hours a day. Now, it all depends on what you're able to do. Sometimes, you're a parent, whatever. Just do what you're capable to do. Now, you also want to give yourself about 3 to 6 months to train for this marathon. You don't just want to go out and just hit this marathon. It's a long way, and you'll probably collapse. And a good indicator is if you can go out and run for about 30 minutes, that's kind of your first week's target. So in the first week of your training, run for about 30 minutes without stopping. So the next thing we're going to talk about is balanced nutrition. So we'll see you over in the cafeteria.
All right, when you're preparing to train for a marathon, the important thing to remember is you need to eat right. You need to have a healthy, balanced diet. I'm not going to tell you what to eat. I'm just going to tell you that you need to do some research. You need to find out about nutrition labels. You need to learn about what your body needs in order to perform properly. Just like a car, the fuel that you put in is going to determine the kind of performance that you have. Just put it in regular unleaded, you're going to have a pretty regular performance out of your car. If you put it in premium, you're going to have premium performance. So, same concept with food as fuel for your body. So, some of these visuals here you can see you want to have balance in your diet. You don't necessarily want to eliminate something like carbs from your diet entirely. There's a little myth that carbs are bad. Well, there are bad carbs, there are good carbs. And especially if you're doing prolonged running, carbs help your body maintain that energy distribution over long periods of time. Also about fluids that you want to put in your body. Drinking water is a great idea. Of course, you want to keep your body hydrated, but too much water can dilute the sugars in your blood, and it can be bad for prolonged running. So that's why you want to try to, after your workout, after you run, you want to drink these sports drinks. They have things called electrolytes, as what your body craves, that help distribute hydration and energy into your muscles, keeps you from cramping up. It helps you recover so that you don't cramp up. So drink sports drinks. Now there's a lot of sugar in those, but I said sugar in prolonged running is okay. Basically, you want to eat right. Like I said, I'm not telling you what to eat and what not to eat. Some people have high cholesterol. They need to stay away from certain foods. Some people have low blood sugar, or they're anemic or something like that. They need more iron. So everybody's body is a little different. You just need to know that if you're going to be training for a marathon, that your diet is an extremely important part of your training. And just like everything else we're going to talk about today, your diet comes down to discipline. There's going to be times where you're going to want to eat that fried food, and you're going to want to go to get some fast food or whatever, and you're going to have to say no. You know, it's going to come down to discipline, just like everything else. So make sure you have balance in your diet. Make sure you get the good, colorful fruits and vegetables, lean protein, things like that. Again, do your research. There's plenty of places online. Get some good information, good resources. Read the nutrition labels on the back of your products. And, diet's important.
So we've talked about having the proper equipment. We've talked about having a rigorous training schedule. And we've talked about proper nutrition and diet. Now we're going to wrap it up. We're going to talk about conditioning and trying to keep yourself motivated. Now, when it comes to motivation, it's a good idea to just surround yourself in your goals. What I mean by that is, get a marker and draw on your mirror. So every day when you're brushing your teeth, you can see those messages saying, hey, don't forget to do this. Keep yourself going. Good job. Whatever. Keep yourself motivated. Tell your family. Tell your friends. Tell people that you see every day. And tell them that you want them to talk about it. So when you see them every day, they can say, hey, how's that training coming? Do something to keep yourself on track. Keep yourself motivated. So a lot of times your willpower will be tested, and you're going to say, man, this sucks. This hurts. I don't want to do this anymore. But you got to have that discipline. Discipline is key. So now we're going to talk about keeping yourself conditioned. Now, it's a good idea before you go out and run every day, stretch. Stretch all parts of your body. And most of the time people think that just because you're running, it's all in the feet and in the legs. Well, that's true, but your arms have a lot to do with your running form, keeping that stride open. So make sure you don't neglect your arms, don't neglect your core. And a lot of times when you run, you get that stitch right there in the side. It's because you need to stretch that out. Stretch out your stomach, stretch out your back. You do that before and after you run. So today we've basically covered a lot of ground on things to do to prepare, to train for a full marathon. Like I said, we talked about the proper equipment and shoes and clothes. We've talked about a rigorous training schedule, about having the proper equipment. We talked about having a proper training schedule. Talked about proper diet and nutrition. And then we talked about conditioning and stretching. And the overall message, the thing that bleeds through that entire lesson, is discipline. It's going to take discipline and motivation. So, you know, a lot of things go into training for a marathon. But if you keep that discipline and keep that motivation, then, you know, you're going to have a lot more success. So, I'm going to go ahead and start stretching out and get to it.